Mandalay is a city and former royal capital of northern Burma, situated on the banks of the Irrawaddy River. In the city center is the restored Konbaung Dynasty Mandalay Palace, which is surrounded by a moat. The top of Mandalay Hill, accessed by a covered staircase, offers views of the city. The second city in importance and number of inhabitants of Myanmar is Mandalay, and despite being a dynamic city, it hides a good number of interesting places, and with a wide historical heritage. The majority of Mandalay's population is of the Bamar ethnic group. However, and particularly in the city of Mandalay and its surroundings, there is a large Chinese and Indian community. Along the eastern border can be found a large number of Shan people. Mandalay is a city where religious worship is greater than in other places in Burma, and through its streets, it is common to enjoy the presence of monks, men in red attire, women in pink, pilgrimage and begging in the street. With an enormous single prayer hall inside, Atumashi Monastery is also known as the Incomparable Monastery. Due to its sheer size, Atumashi Monastery is considered one of the largest religious buildings in Mandalay. The gigantic gold and white monastery was constructed by King Mindon in 1857. The monastery was once home to an image of Buddha that contained a massive diamond. However, in 1885, the diamond was lost during the British takeover of Mandalay and was never seen again. After the event of the lost diamond, the British seized control of the monastery in 1890 and turned it into a military barrack. However, this didn't last long, as the monastery was destroyed by a fire. Only the stairways and pillars underneath survived the disaster. A century after the mysterious fire, renovations to the monastery began around 1990, and ended in 1996, salvaging a fragment of the city's rich history. Shwenandaw Monastery was built in 1878 by King Tibaw Min, who dismantled and relocated the apartment formerly occupied by his father, King Mindon Min, just before Mindon Min's death. King Tibaw removed the building in October 10, 1878, believing it to be haunted by his father's spirit. The building reconstruction was finished in October 31, 1878, dedicated in memory of his father on a plot adjoining Atumashi Monastery. It is said that King Tibaw used it for meditation, and the meditation couch he sat on can still be seen. The building was originally part of the royal palace at Amarapura, before it was moved to Mandalay, where it formed the northern section of the Manan Palace, and part of the king's royal apartments. The building was heavily gilt, with gold and adorned with glass mosaic work. The monastery is known for its teakwood carvings of Buddhist myths, which adorn its walls and roofs. The monastery is built in the traditional Burmese architectural style. Shwenandaw Monastery is the single remaining major original structure of the original royal palace today. Bein Bridge is a crossing that spans the Tongthaman Lake, near Amarapura in Myanmar. The 1.2-kilometer bridge was built around 1850, and is believed to be the oldest and longest teakwood bridge in its era. Construction began when the capital of Ava Kingdom moved to Amarapura, and the bridge is named after the mayor who had it built. It is used as an important passageway for the local people, and has also become a tourist attraction. It is particularly busy during July and August, when the lake is at its highest level. The bridge was built from wood reclaimed from the former royal palace in Inwa. It features 1,086 pillars that stretch out of the water, some of which have been replaced with concrete. Though the bridge largely remains intact, there are fears that an increasing number of the pillars are becoming dangerously decayed. The bridge was built in curved shape, in the middle, to resist the assault of wind and water. The main teak posts were hammered into the lake bed, 7 feet deep. The other ends of the posts were shaped conically, to make sure that rainwater would fall down easily.